Here.
Palmer. Miller. Here.
At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence for Rebecca Heck. All right, 3.0. Looking for a motion to accept the minutes as listed.
I'll second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Batts.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Great. Moving on to 4.0. I'm going to, Mr. Kaufman, you're on the Finance Committee, the only member present. If you could take care of that.
Sure. 4.0, I move that we approve the following financial reports for August as listed below. 4.1, 4.12.
Any comments?
I'll second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Beitler.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Batts.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Clock.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Are there any students or citizens wishing to address the board pertaining to agenda items only? Seeing none, we're going to move right along to reports and recommendations of the superintendent. Dr. Isaac. Oh, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just curious what special revenue account is. What's that? Oh, Tom question.
That could be a donation account, like a dollar to this the Curve Foundation,
Okay.
Any special revenue you get.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Isaac.
2 items tonight. The first one is our music department usually takes a trip to Disney World. They're going to try something a little different. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Gross to present that trip.
Thank you. This is way better.
Hello everyone, my name is Jocelyn Gross and I'm the vocal director at the middle school, high school. And we have a tradition in the music department that, like Andy mentioned, every 4 years we travel to Disney. And then 2 years after a Disney trip, the show choir takes a trip. So although it is called a music department trip in the minutes, it actually is primarily just the high school show choir, grades 9 through 12. This is an audition group. These students auditioned back in May of last year and auditioned to get into this group. And my hope is that trips like this will keep the numbers coming, will really encourage students to audition and make it a competitive ensemble for students to get into. So what I'd like to do this evening is just walk through a little bit of what we'll be doing and the costs that we incur to the district and things like that. I based the trip actually, years before me, Trudy Bucks was the choral director, and she took a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So I've actually have that itinerary and I based some things off of that. But we will leave on May 1st, hopefully, travel most of the day. We will be traveling through a charter bus, not flying, in order to keep the cost down a little bit. So 9 hours on a bus with high schoolers should be fun. And then Thursday, I try to keep the students really busy. So things like going to the go-karts, the Titanic Museum, and then ending the day with a Pirates Voyage dinner and show. I try to incorporate something music in every day that we have. And then moving on to Friday is sort of the highlight of the trip, where we go to Dollywood and we perform and we compete. Music in the Parks is an organization that we use for Hershey Park every year, where we compete locally here, and they host competitions at other theme parks and things like that. So we're familiar with the Music in the Parks organization, and we've had great experiences. They have wonderful judges where we'll perform and get critiques, and then the students can listen to those critiques, and we found it to be a very beneficial experience. So we would go to Dollywood, we would perform at a venue close to Dollywood, go to the Hard Rock Cafe, and then what happens is the following day, they do an award ceremony that day where we find out what our scores are and things like that. And then Sunday we would leave and return back to home and travel our 9 hours. If you look at the cost breakdown, it gives you a price per person. And for the adults, for a quad room, it would be $507. And then for the students, for a quad room, it would be $692. This cost includes includes everything in the trip. Any extra things like bus gratuity and things like that, our music boosters have been extremely supportive in helping with those extra costs. So with the support of the music boosters and the cost that the students would be paying, we would not be asking for any financial contribution from the district, besides the payment of a substitute teacher for myself. But beyond that, the costs would all be covered primarily by the travel agent. This is a travel agency that I've worked with before when I worked at Daniel Boone several years ago. EPN Travel, they're actually local in Douglasville, Pennsylvania. I've heard great things about them. The travel agents I've been working with has been very, very helpful along the way. But that's just a quick summary of what our trip would be. The students really look forward to these trips and create great memories on these trips. And we've been fortunate to have amazing kids, and every trip that we've taken, we've gone to Williamsburg, we've gone to Boston, and of course Disney. It's always been such a positive experience for the students. Are there any questions?
How much do the students have to pay out of pocket?
So,
or is it mostly through fundraising?
Say that one more time.
Or is it mostly through fundraising?
So the opportunity exists for fundraising. The music boosters do a wonderful job of providing lots of fundraising opportunities. For example, they have Wawa hoagie coupons. We sell whoopie pies. We hold a spaghetti dinner every year. We're hoping to sell some Plum Creek pretzels this year. So we've got lots of things in the works, a lot of different fundraising opportunities if students wish to. I have students that are able to completely fund their trips through fundraising if they choose that option. They just have to put a little bit of work into it themselves. But if not, then the students would be responsible for $692 for a row of 4.
So is this as big a competition as Florida, like as far as the amount of choirs that you're competing against?
To be honest, it's bigger. When we go to Disney, we don't compete. When we go to Disney, it's more of a performance where we go into Disney Springs and we perform in that town there on the stage. And we don't really receive feedback. So this is a competition, a festival. So it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
But we'll see other groups too, which will be fun. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time and I hope you have a great evening.
Thanks, Renee.
The only other item I have tonight is Mr. Heck had asked me to read a statement. As most of you are aware, his wife did pass away this past week. She was a paraeducator within our ESL population, working with our ESL kids. Did a phenomenal job, and we will definitely miss Rebecca. He did ask me to read this. I wanted to thank everyone for reaching out and the kind support and meals that are being dropped off. I appreciate all the stories from staff who got to work with Rebecca. It means so much to our family. Thank you all again for this support, and as we say, this is why we're different and why we are Tulpehocken. So if you could just remember the Heck family in your prayers tomorrow as they go through a very difficult day. And that would end my report.
Mrs. Klopp, can you take care of items for board action, please?
And I do not know
Yeah.
Yes, 9.0.1, I make a motion to approve the music department field trip to Dollywood from May 1st, 2024 through May 5th, 2024 as presented.
Fox, second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Feiler,
Yes. All right, moving on to finance, Mr. Kaufman.
9.11, make a motion to approve a transportation agreement between Tulpehocken Area School District and student number 30345.
Bob second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Bats,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Feiler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
All right, moving down to 9.4, Mr. Kaufman, you're a popular guy tonight.
Thank you. All right, 9.4.1, make a motion, we give a second reading and final approval to the following policies as listed.
Bob second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Sorry.
Bats, sorry,
So in reading, not sure if it's that group or the next group, you had bolded Andy, for us to, I think they were more things that they should be discussed or reviewed, or, I'm sorry, I can't remember the wording that you had, that it was in bolded. And I didn't know if that was something you wanted to bring up, or you just wanted to particularly point us to make sure that we.
So if that's in the next round.
That's in the next one. Okay.
Any other comments? Roll call?
Bats,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Feiler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
All right, 9.4.2, I make a motion, we give first reading with the intent to give second reading and final approval on October 17th, 2023, to the following policies as listed.
Bob second.
Any comments?
I'll just note the last two on that list, 26.1 and 827. Every year we go through cyclical federal monitoring, and there's certain requirements that the federal monitors for receiving title funds requires. The travel reimbursement, as odd as it sounds, we had to put a line in there that says that the same standard that we use locally, which is the IRS reimbursement rate, we must also use federally when reimbursing using federal funds. So that was a line that had to be added from when we first gave you the rough draft. And then 827 is a policy, I believe, from 2018 that is required, the federal government requires that we review that policy on an annual basis and update it. There was no significant changes or no changes to that policy at all. It's just we have to note that we've reviewed it and update it if there's any.
All right, 9.4.3, I make a motion that we approve. Oh, sorry.
Any comments? Okay. Roll call?
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Feiler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Bats,
Yes.
All right, 9.4.3, I make a motion, we approve the deletion of the following policies, number 327, number 329, and number 348.
Bob second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Clock,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Feiler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Bats,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Great. Moving on to personnel, Mrs. Kaufman.
9.8.1, I make a motion to approve the following professional staff salary adjustments based on credit attainment according to the collective bargaining agreement as listed.
Fox, second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock.
Yes. Come on, Bill, you can finish personnel.
I'll sit back here.
Okay.
Good call. Handled that time pretty good.
Didn't know that, yeah.
9.8.2, approve the following employment. Linda Yordi as a part-time instructional support para-educator at Penn Burnville Elementary at an hourly rate of $16 effective September 20th, 2023, pending completion of employment paperwork. Michelle Hartgraff as a part-time learning support para-educator at the middle school at an hourly rate of $16 effective September 20th, 2023, pending completion of employment paperwork. Linda I don't want to butcher her last name. Tomachich as a part-time emotional support para-educator at Penn Burnville Elementary at an hourly rate of $16 plus a $2 position differential effective September 20th, 2023, pending completion of employment paperwork.
Fox, second.
Any comments? So just to clarify, what denotes a $2 position differential?
If it's emotional support, life skills, or autistic support.
Okay. Anything else? Roll call?
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
9.8.3, make a motion to approve the following substitute classified staff/event staff as listed.
Fox, second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Hedrick,
Yes.
Beitler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
9.8.4, I make a motion to approve the following unpaid leave. Sierra Etchberger, autistic support teacher, Bethel Elementary, for November 1st, 2023.
Fox, second.
Any comments?
That's just a one-day.
Her flight got moved up from what she was originally planning.
Roll call?
Beitler,
Yes.
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
9.8.5, I make a motion to approve the following volunteers for the remainder of the 2023-24 school year as listed.
Fox, second.
Any comments? Roll call?
Rissmiller,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Kaufman,
Yes.
Clock,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Beitler.
Yes. All right, does anybody have any new business to discuss?
Want to go through that now, or?
Sure, yeah. We do have one item to add to the agenda. The agreements, we received the final drafts of the agreement from the township. The first is the land development and maintenance agreement. That's for the work that will be done around the high school. The township requires that agreement to be in place, and that's typical for a land development plan. The posting of the security for the municipal improvements is $703,205.45. That amount is reviewed by our architects and engineers and found to be accurate. Also, the stormwater controls, that's to ensure that the detention basins are properly built, and that stormwater operation control and best management agreement is just that we're going to maintain the basins in an adequate fashion, giving the township the right to go in and maintain them if for some reason we don't. And again, that's a standard agreement. There was also a requirement for posting of insurance for the municipal improvements, and Tom secured the certificate of insurance that names Jefferson Township as a certificate holder. So tonight, in order to get the, and we just got these today revised with all of them. They made all the revisions that we requested on the agreement. We got them back today. So we would need a motion tonight to approve the land development and stormwater management control agreement, and then authorize the appropriate officers to sign it, and then they'll release our building permit.
So we need to make a motion to amend the agenda.
Correct.
And then,
A motion to approve those two agreements.
And that's $700,000+ is
There's two ways you can.
return to us when
Yes,
we,
exactly. Actually, it's returned to us in increments. So there's two ways you can post that security. You can post a letter of credit, and we had talked to Tom about that, although that's actually going to cost us money, a couple of basis points, each month that that's outstanding. Or we could post cash, and you've indicated we would post cash. But as work is done and inspected, there's a list of all the improvements that are covered by this agreement. And the value of each one is listed there. So, and Rusty, you're probably familiar with this stuff. And it's all listed there. So, for example, if we installed 12 feet of HDPE or PVC roof drain pipe, there's a price for 175 of them. Unit price per linear foot is $6,125. When that's installed, we can go to the township and say that's installed, we want our $6,125 back. Now they'll hold a 10% retainage, but we can get it back. Now we probably won't do it that small increments, but probably monthly as the work is being done. We'll ask the architect to prepare a list of the items that have been completed and inspected, and then ask the township to release them back to us. So we'll keep on top of this pretty hard to get the money back as quickly as we can.
in the account it sits in, does it bear interest in us?
No, probably won't. So need a motion.
Looking for a motion to amend the agenda.
Make the motion to amend the agenda and add those agreements.
Any comments?
Ladies first.
Roll call?
Bats.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Clock.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Feiler.
Yes.
Chris Miller.
Yes.
And then the motion would be to approve the land development improvement and maintenance agreement together with the stormwater controls and best management practices operation and maintenance agreement between the Tulpehocken Area School District and Jefferson Township, and also to authorize the appropriate officers to execute.
I move what Brian said.
Bob second.
I'll email it to you.
You're gonna have to watch that video.
Any comments? Roll call?
Bats.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Clock.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Feiler.
Yes.
Chris Miller.
Yes.
So is there any other new business to discuss? Anyone have any old business to discuss?
Just wondering if we ever heard anything back from PennDOT on the Penn-Burgle School intersection.
We did not. What we did do, though, is right before the school, I don't know if we discussed this, we actually shifted all of the student drop-off from the back down to the lower lot. So if you go into there, we did take some parking spaces away, but 3 lanes where Matt and his crew and his team created 3 drop-off lanes. It's actually pretty slick. They stack them all in 3 lanes. You have a stop sign, a go sign. As one lane is clearing, another one is exiting, the kids are getting out. Historically, the buses were totally gone before parents finished up their drop-off. Now it's a race as to whether or not parents are done before the buses. It works really well.
That's good.
And instead of, we were afraid that things would get traffic jammed on Charlottesville, but a lot of the parents just shoot straight across right into Burnville and then exit from there or make a left. So it is not traffic jammed anything, and nobody has to pull out onto the 183 from that back entrance, so. But we've not heard any more from PennDOT on it.
And I guess you had said before, there's no way to petition them to put 15-mile-an-hour school signs on 183.
They will not, because no children actually cross 183.
Do we have children crossing at Bethel still? 'Cause to my knowledge, if they walk parallel to 501 up into town.
We don't, right now, we don't have anybody, no. I mean, we have kids that walk up. We have a crossing guard that takes and goes up into Burnville area, but no, or Bethel area, but nobody crosses Bethel.
Gotcha.
Playground improvements.
Slow going.
Slow.
We've had some issues with the outdoor classroom should be done this week. They shipped the wrong turf, so they're waiting for the new shipment of the turf. One of the issues at PB is the amount of water that playground area is retaining. So as they're digging to get the mulch out, they just keep hitting more and more puddles of water, which we kind of knew. We knew that drainage had been removed when the new playground was put in years ago, but it is creating a little bit of a challenge. The minute they put any equipment in, it instantly sinks. Bethel, they should be starting shortly. They just have to put the turf on top of the existing padding and then attach it to concrete curving around the outside. So that one's going to be a lot easier. The PB one will be a little more challenging. It takes some time.
Is that still within the scope of the project that they did?
As of right now, it is.
I would imagine as they dig, and sounds like it needs drainage.
Well, and so what he explained yesterday is even as he's taking stuff out and putting stone in to drive on the stone to get into the dirt, he's just sinking even with the stone being there because there's so much.
Sounds like it needs ballast.
Yeah. So on one end, I think he dug a foot and hit stone. On the other end, he's down about 3 feet.
Maybe we should have a fish pond.
It's just filling up with water even when it's not raining. Sunny as day, and it's just the center of it. And we knew there was a huge drainage problem.
Wasn't there a
Yeah.
spring in the Burnville school?
That was what Kyle thought he heard, and they capped it with clay, because it is clay underneath the mulch.
Yeah, I remember
So we have
someone talking about that.
a classroom.
Underneath the school itself, in the school.
I'm talking, well, if it's underneath the school, obviously it's outside too.
Well, there's some crawl spaces on there, yeah, that you actually see where elements are.
We have a classroom that will not hold a floor. Every time the tiles pop, if you run a dehumidifier, you're fine, but it's not like water seeping up, like it doesn't puddle, it's just, if anything metal is and we don't run a dehumidifier, it starts rusting. So we're trying to look at some options as to what can we do, because the floor's in rough shape, it needs to be covered. But we had individual that's doing the carpeting for this and did the libraries was doing some investigation as to what we could use to seal it. But Rick always said that they just poured concrete into the spring years ago.
Years ago, that's what they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So it's not done.
And honestly, that's part of what the issue was
Water
with
eventually find its way to the town.
the elevator shaft. Is water
Right.
finds its way into there. Yeah. There is some drainage in the playground, but it's not taking water out. So it's somewhere along the line, it's either collapsed or it's blocked that we need to try to find how to get it out. So.
If you need help looking at it, like, know a thing or two about drainage, so I can stop and look at it, review it,
All right, yeah.
whatever.
So far,
Careful what you're on to.
I've
So far, he has a good game plan because Dennis, Judy, who works on maintenance team, and done a lot of construction on roads and drainage as well, so he was game training with him a little bit. Seems to have a good game plan, so hopefully it keeps going on that.
Patrick ain't here right now, so I'll take him with me.
You'll be up.
Anything else?
Calendar events is listed there. Anybody wish to address the board this evening?
I can't see you if you said that.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. So, October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. And as some of you know, I have been advocating for appropriate education in the classroom for children for decades. If you'll just humor me for a little bit, give you some statistics. Reading disabilities are the most studied learning disability that there is. The documented first case of, it was actually referenced as word blindness back in the day, goes back to 1676. So this is not a new thing. We know how to fix it. Have any of you, not fix it, but adapt for it? Have any of you ever seen or worked with someone that has had a stroke and then gone through the process of rehabilitation? That's kind of what a dyslexic deals with. The difference is the older person or the person with the stroke, they did know how to read, and then they have to be rehabilitated. Back in 1895, Dr. Hinchelwood, he was an ophthalmologist. He published a paper in 1895. He recognized that a patient of his that was 58 years old had very similar symptoms as a child that was 10 years old that did not ever learn to read. In school, some of the challenges that dyslexic kids have is that they get labeled. Some of them get labeled as lazy, but the reality is they're actually working 10 times harder than their peers. One of my dyslexic kids, they used to put their head on the desk with their arm out, like that. Teacher would always yell at them, sit up. What they were trying to do was they could actually see with their head down appropriately in order to read the text. Sometimes you'll see kids that are bullies. It's better to be the bad kid than the dumb kid. When I was on the board, when we had disciplinary issues that came up, my first question was always, have they been checked for a learning disability? And I'd always get a look like I had two heads. Sometimes you'll have the class clown. They're deflecting their issues with humor. I can't tell you how many times you're told, oh, one day it'll just click, but it never does. Another statement is, oh, he's a boy. Sometimes it takes them a little bit longer, but that never happens. Statistically, you have 1 in 5 students in a classroom that are dyslexic. So in a classroom of 20, you have 4 kids. Throw in the genetic factor. In my family, I've got 6 children. 4 of them are dyslexic. One of the fallacies that people might think with a dyslexic, if they've ever heard a dyslexic that has not been properly taught, is that they're stupid. The interesting thing is they're brilliant. I've got one child with a 147 IQ, one with a 154, one with a 167, and the one that was not tested, they consider themselves functionally illiterate as a Tulpehocken graduate. But I'm sure that their IQ falls into the same categories as their siblings. So a lot of these kids fall through the cracks. One thing that changed my life long time ago, when I was in my early 20s, our church held a program, and they brought in, I have no clue who they were, but they came in, and what they did was they allowed us to experience learning disabilities. Talk about empathy. It's off the charts when you start doing it. In 15 minutes, I had a headache that lasted the rest of the day. It was absolutely unbelievable. So when I stated the fact that these kids are working 10 times harder, they really, really are. Parents are frustrated because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to help their children. Teachers are not properly trained. This actually goes to a college level. Several years ago, I took a graduate course and became OG certified. What was interesting was I questioned if I was dyslexic, and quite frankly, I don't know. I was one of the smarter kids in my class. But I could see a lot of similarities in the way that I learned, but I never set foot in a special education classroom. In fact, I was considered gifted, which most dyslexics are. But the big thing that stuck out during my certification was this is the way that I learned to read. Now, in my primary years, I went to Wyoming School District. So first grade, second grade, third grade. This is exactly how I learned to read. I know I had brought it up a long time ago with a different superintendent sitting there, and they said, there's no way my kids would sit through that. You know what? When you're in first grade, second grade, third grade, you don't know any differently. But you know what? You learn how to read, and you learn how to read well. And I never stepped foot into a special education classroom. They don't belong there. Most of them, like I said, are probably would be considered 2E or twice exceptional. But probably the Wilson program or the Orton-Gillingham program. Wilson probably works better in a classroom setting, but we need to get appropriate education into the classrooms so that these kids can thrive. I know during my tutoring sessions, when I first meet the children, they feel stupid. They feel like they can't do it, but you know what? When they leave, they're standing straighter. They know that they can do this, and they walk out. One little boy said, can I have your email in case I need to contact you? Because my teacher just doesn't get this. So, of course, I have to get the permission from the parents. But it absolutely changes the children's lives. I had hired a Wilson tutor, and I said to the child that had this tutor, I said, where do you think you'd be if we didn't have Virginia? And they said, I don't even want to know. Probably like their sibling, being functionally illiterate. So I would encourage you to look at changing the way that we're doing things. And I'd like to offer my service to you to give you a day with dyslexia, even if it's temporary. Years ago, with my church, they gave us that opportunity, and I'd like to give you that opportunity. Let me tell you, I think it would get in the classroom a whole heck of a lot faster if you experienced what you're putting these children through that are intelligent, they're capable, and they just need to be taught a different way. And it will change your life, and it will change the way that you educate the children. So I'd like to offer that to you. If you're interested, Kyle, you can contact me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we do not have the need for an executive session tonight, so we're in the realms of the top 10 quickest meetings of the year. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, give consent by saying aye.